Good morning, everybody. We are live at the 7:30 a.m. hour, actually 1 minute early. And you might notice that we have somebody new on the podcast. As always, I am your guest host. But while Hunter is hiking the Appalachian Trail, we wanted to continue our good vibes on these Monday mornings and continue with our Morningwood Radio live. And for the next couple of weeks, we're going to have Coach Parker Gregory, a.k.a. Coach Scooter McCooter, on the pod here, just going through a little bit, maybe. Oh, hello. Any questions that you may have this week, we'll get into it. But just want to say hello and how we doing today, Gregory Parker?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Good. That's kind of your thing where people, they find you and then they start to DM you and they're like, "What's up, Gregory?" And you're like,
Yeah.
The name on my IMDb, the name on all my magazines, it is Parker, Gregory, not the other way around.
I get a lot of "Hey Gregory" or "Hey Greg," and I'm like, it's in my profile. It says Parker Gregory. There's not Parker, Gregory.
I guess
I even had a cop one time. I was in New York City, and he tried to write me a speeding ticket.
And then how do you tell the cop
cycling?
That, okay, I'll take it, but it is wrong. But if I'm gonna take this, you're gonna have to spell it correctly.
I was laughing because I was like, "You're pulling me over for speeding?" He's like, "Yeah, do you know how fast you were going?" I was like, No, I don't. And he took my ID. I just happened to have my ID on me because I was riding. I was doing a long ride that day, and
Is this
so I
on
was
a
going
motorcycle?
out of this. No, I'm a bicycle.
Oh,
yeah. He tried to write me a ticket for
I was thinking
speeding on my bicycle.
Okay.
I was like, all right, dude. So I had my ID and my wallet because this is for Apple Pay and everything. So I'm riding into like upstate New York. So I'm doing a longer ride, riding up to the cafe for coffee and pastry and stuff like that. And he takes my ID and then he gives me the ticket. And I look at it and I just go, huh. Put Gregory as my first name. And then Wayne Parker is middle and last. And I was like, well, appreciate you wasting my time.
Yeah, because then what happens? You go there to the your court date and you're like, all right, well, my ID says this. I think you got to get it waived at that point, right?
No, I literally just called I waited a few days and then I just called the courthouse and I was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a ticket under my name." And they go, "Oh, well, what's the last name?" And again, they go, "No ticket under your name." I go, "Okay." Like, it's not under my name. Sorry, bro. That ain't me.
That guy was he's just looking to mess off your day. I mean, scoring or ticketing off bikers for speeding, it's a slow day in the cop
Yeah,
world.
I couldn't believe it. It was on a road where thousands and thousands of cyclists go weekly. So whatever.
Wow. Well, I figure we would just get on here, kind of talk it through. We had something launch here pretty soon. Well, but hang on, before we get into that, what are your thoughts about ice bath? Because I don't have an official ice bath, but what I have been doing is right before you get out of the shower, just like turn it to absolutely cold. And then I just sat there and for a while I've just done like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I don't know if you know the song Location by Khalid.
Mm-hmm.
That song started and I had the coldness on the entire time for that. So I'm getting a little bit better with the
nice.
length of it. But are there actual benefits, or is it just like one of those hypes that at the beginning of the year everyone's like,
so it goes all the way down, and you can look all this up because this is way too much to get into. This will end up like a Huberman podcast where he talks for like 2 hours on a single subject. So you have cold shock proteins.
Okay.
And so when I lived in New York, I went to the Turkish bathhouse like 3 times a week, and I would do cold and hot therapy all the time. It was the only way I could recover for as much as I was training people, cycling and strength training. I mean, I had, 2 to 3 days a week strength training, and most days I was riding was 2 days. So that was the only way to try to get my body to relax. Now, the trick is if you want to do cold therapy properly, is don't do it directly after your session unless your body's like completely overheated because you're out in the
Mm-hmm.
summertime and you're like, holy crap, I'm gonna have heat exhaustion. Then of course, like get your body temp down. But
Yeah.
you're better doing it 20, 30 minutes before you start your strength training. You'll
Mm.
get better results after it. If you're gonna do it post session, you need to wait a few hours.
Mm.
And the biggest trick is you can start with, getting your legs in, getting your chest in, but you really want to get the water up to fully immerse your neck to
Mm.
get all the way up to the head. That's in this area, and not to get too scientific on it, but that is the huge difference in getting it all the way down. That's why you see a lot of people, they're up to here in the ice bath, or they get the straw, and or snorkel and submerge.
So if
It's
I'm doing
really
it in
when
the
you get
shower, I need to make sure that it's at least hitting my neck because I tell you, I get out, I
cold
feel very
showers are still
calm
great
now.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, cold showers are still really effective. And it's crazy, you'll notice a difference. You can get into 50-degree water
Mm.
that doesn't move, and you can get into 55, 60-degree water and it's circulating and it feels
Mhm.
colder.
Wow.
Yeah, there's something weird about how the water circulating makes it much colder. And then just start with, you don't have to jump right into like, oh, I'm getting into 40 degrees. It's just like anything. You got to build that tolerance. You got to get used to it. Some
Yeah.
people can just jump in, but cold therapy is fantastic because
Mm.
what you're doing is you're really after the cold shock proteins. Uh, and that's something that I've recently discovered about the cold shock proteins that they've discovered. So I'm not going to go into detail because I can't
Yeah.
scientifically go into it like Huberman. So I'm not going
Sure.
to try to act like I can. But
Yeah.
it was really fascinating. I was like, oh, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So
There is something
it's pretty
behind
cool.
this, and then not just the hype of the season when it's, New Year's
No, no,
and turning.
no, no, man. Cold therapy's been around for very, very long time. It's solid.
All right. Very good. Well, I figure we get into this. While Hunter's gone, we want to make sure that we're here on your Monday mornings. And most
Oh yeah.
recently, I think what just happened is, or it did, but we had the Lean and Mean with house training. We launched our Lean and Mean Summer 2023 challenge. With that, you got to choose between a more of a bodybuilding type of workout and training, or more of a hybrid athlete summer type of training. It will get you continued to be strong throughout the summer without losing any muscle, and a great training plan for those off season, in season kind of hybrid workouts as well. And then along with that, we have this carb cut challenge. So what we wanted to do today is just go over some glossary terms or definitions of what does it mean to superset. Because while going through, I upload these workouts every week, and in both both training programs, athletic athlete, and then the summer superset for look good naked. Both of them have some sort of superset. So I don't know, Parker, if you have the PDFs on you, or what I could do is I can share screen and present these. Do you want to go into that, or the
Yeah,
carb
we
cut
can.
PDF?
Yeah, that
What we
brief
also
on.
want to do is with the carb cut, just go through and give you an example, because there's a difference between, hey, what's on paper, here's an example, and then putting it to practice. So what we want
Yeah.
to do is put it to practice today, show you how to go through an example of, we'll use me, what my body fat percentage is, what my body weight is, and calculate how you should be using the PDF here. So what do you want to get into first?
So brief superset. It's very easy. It
Yeah.
is a exercise immediately followed up by an opposing muscle group. So, and that's traditional. Like Arnold and those guys back in the day, Arnold loved doing chest and back, chest and back, chest and back. And it's a no rest because you have other things called alternating sets. And it's when
Okay.
you're doing, like, say, maybe you're doing a front squat, but then it's extreme heavy load. And then you're going to rest 60 to 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. And then you'll do like RDLs.
Okay.
And then you're
What
going to
is an
rest the
RDL?
same time. That Romanian deadlift.
Okay.
So that's an alternating set where you're still taking big breaks in between, and that allows for a lot larger rest into the focus of that singular exercise. And that's when you're pushing big, heavy reps, a big, heavy weight.
Okay.
Now, supersets, you
So
can
what
do
we
it
have
with,
here is our PDF, right? And I don't
yeah.
want to give too much of it away because if it was me, I'd be on this podcast and like snippeting and screenshotting this so we would have it. But these are very nice. Thank you, Brian, for making all of these. But let's go through just day one, example one. So it's upper body push. And then in the notes down here, it says to superset the 2 movements, you need to keep
Yep.
your rest below 20 seconds. That's at 20S. Your goal is to improve quickly between these lifts. So what do? I get done with the bench press, and then it says 10 dumbbell lateral raises, 60 seconds after the superset. Rest 60 seconds. So what am I doing to make this effective?
Yeah, so have your dumbbells for the lateral raise ready right at the foot of the bench. You're going to smash that bench press.
Okay.
You'll
Can I
get
do
up
it with dumbbells, or if I don't have the barbell?
Yeah,
Can I?
if you're doing dumbbell bench or barbell bench press, whichever it is, but then have those dumbbells for the weight for the lateral raise, because I mean you're not going to do 50, 60, 70-pound lateral raises unless you're some super freak. So as soon as you get done with that bench press, sit up, pick up those dumbbells, stand up, or if you want to do them seated, if you do them seated, you'll have a lot less momentum from your body, but you're immediately going to go right into those lateral raises. And then you're going to take your 60-second break. So the faster you can switch to the superset, the exercise that's following the main, the better. And that's why we put that 20-second emphasis on there, because once you start approaching anything longer than that, now you're working in like strength endurance or anything else like that. So where you're allowing for short rest, you want to try to minimize that rest between these supersets as little as possible. So if you have those dumbbells,
I got less than fit. So I get done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, drop them. I'd have 20 seconds. I could do it. It would still be effective if I dropped them, waited 15 seconds, and then went into those lateral raises. As long as I'm doing that within 20 seconds.
Exactly. But you really want to just try to go, boom, bench press, drop your dumbbells or rack it, lean forward, grab your other dumbbells, and just start banging out those lateral raises, set them down, 60 seconds rest, repeat.
And is the point of that to just really burn out the muscle? What is this doing? Just not letting the muscle recover and just muscle confusion?
Well, confusion. I don't think your muscles are going to be like, holy shit, well, wait, I wasn't expecting that.
What are you doing to me today?
Yeah, it's like, whoa, wasn't ready. Like, I find the word muscle confusion hilarious. Anytime you do something that you're not used to do it might be a little bit weird. You're like, I'm a little confused by this. But the muscle confusion thing is, we get the term, but it's also funny at the same time. So a lot of times you're working faster. Okay. And your pump will grow. So one of the things that Hunter was talking about is when you want to do some bodybuilding, you really want to get that pump. And that really helps with sculpting. So when we can superset, we can get a pump immensely. And we're also just working smarter. We're working with in a shorter amount of time. And because these are higher rep as well, we're approaching hypertrophy. And that's really what we want to achieve with this summer challenge. So bodybuilding and performance training are very different.
Okay. So bodybuilding, you're doing a lot more like, I think there's there's an example of like the bodybuilder coming to the gym and popping out the campfire chair and just waiting in between, like 5 minutes in between their sets. It's very like low key, waiting a lot of time in between.
Yeah, I mean that's something that like Olympic lifters will do because they're, when they're doing like extremely heavy sets that day, they will take large rest because they want that they want to flush out some of that lactic acid so they can go back into that extremely heavy lift. The shorter rest periods,
Mm-hmm.
you're just going to burn out. You're not going to be able to do the same amount of same amount of weight that you would if you're doing a pure strength session.
Okay. Are we good? Anyone listening in that would like to comment about asking any additional questions about what the superset, or do you want to go through the different? So there's what are the
Yeah.
different kinds?
Oh,
There's superset, there's progressive sets, there's drop sets, giant
yeah.
sets.
Yeah, circuit training, all that kind of stuff. Drop sets are okay. I'm going to do bench press with, let's just take a simple number. We'll say 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You knock out 10 reps, and then you have somebody on the side, or you stand up, take your weights off real quick. You drop down to a lower weight. Maybe now you're at 175, and you just bang out 10 or whatever you can. Then, as soon as you're done, drop the weight again. It gets lighter, and you just keep repping out. Those are drop sets.
Mm-hmm.
See a lot of guys do that with curls, skull crushers, different things like that, or they'll use the cable machine, and they're like, all right, tricep, push downs, weight, boom,
Well,
drop the weight, boom,
each
drop
one
the
of
weight.
these will get you a different desired result by doing them.
So you're going for, when you do drop sets, you're going to increase muscular endurance, your strength
Okay.
endurance, and you're going to get a hell of a pump.
Hmm.
If a pump is what you're after,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a serious pump, but you're definitely going to burn out. You're going to get a lot more strength endurance there.
Okay.
Sometimes with these types of things, it's like it's fun to learn about each thing, but okay, what's this? What's that? One thing I've learned as somebody who's been coaching and training people for a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
some people really want to dive in and learn what they're doing. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are like, I don't care, just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
They don't want to waste time. They just want to get in. They want the results. They love the feeling that they're getting,
Mm-hmm.
and they love to see and feel the results, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10, 12 weeks later, however long your program is. If you just get in there and do the work and simplify it by not trying to overthink things,
Mm-hmm.
just go. Consistency is key.
Wow. Well, along with this, we'll go through the carb cut and load that up. But while I hit end screen and load this next one, I just want to get into a couple different things of your credentials, because I also want to shout out a few of our members, and also my mom, who has been training. So I want to get into kind of the coaching aspect of what you do kind of in the interim while I bring this other thing up. But you are a coach with House Training. You're a coach through Coach Parker Gregory Fitness. But I think a lot of times people will look at your picture online and say, well, I could only coach with him if, I was at X percentage body fat and really low. But I just looking at the gambit of, from who I know that you coach probably late 20-year-olds. One of our guys, Matt Mason, AJ, who is early 30s, and then my mom, who I don't want to give her age, but she is my mom, and I'm 36. So you got the whole gambit, and each one of those guys is hitting PRs in half marathons. My mom, who no longer was able to squat or do anything like that, or overhead shoulder press, they're doing it all. Like how do you design a program based upon their age and realize what's good for each one, because whatever you do is working, because each one of those guys in their own realm is doing amazing. And how do you quite factor in age, and how do you know how to design the program for each one of those peoples?
So look at a vehicle, right?
Okay.
A car is a car. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a base way to start. Then how you decide to build up, or like say you're taking a car that you're trying to restore or soup up or anything, you got to figure out, okay, what are we working with? Where are we at currently? What doesn't need to be fixed and what does need to be fixed?
Mm-hmm.
And you go through that through a screening. Like, for instance, like your mother.
Yeah.
When we first met, we checked a lot of movements, range of motion, like the mobility of everything.
So do you
And
do
then
like a test, like a first couple training sessions is like test of range of motion, ROM, and then based
yeah,
upon that, you can dial the program in.
Yeah, you do a functional movement screening, and then that will give you an idea of imbalances, range of motion, and everything else. And then from
And
there,
hang on
you
one
can
sec,
start
and,
to,
and mind you, you do this all via like FaceTime, right? Like
yeah, just like
you're
this.
you're living in Texas right now. I
Yep.
I live and my mom lives in Indiana, and even though
Yeah.
that we are separate states and a flight away, these aren't flying. We aren't flying in and out weekly to do these training sessions. Yeah,
Yeah. It's luckily I'm a talker.
yeah.
And when you get into the virtual realm, I have to tell people, I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk even more
Hmm.
than I would in person because I can't physically show you. I have to be, I have to be very verbal with the communication on how I have to get the different cues, what I'm trying to get them to do or accomplish where they are now, and then what I need them to progress to in that certain movement. So it's a lot of communication verbally in order to get them to
Okay.
understand what I need them to do and, corrections and positions. So, and then each person also responds differently to certain cues.
Okay.
So it's also learning the language of what they respond to. And so for your mother, for example, the
Mhm.
first like 2 weeks, the the warm-ups were pretty much the entire session, just working on the range of motion, doing long like isometric holds for certain stretches or
Mhm.
poses or mobility and everything. And just getting her to do that and then giving her the homework to do on the days that we're not doing our virtual one-on-ones and then pulling back the load on some of the other things that she was doing because she loves to like to ride her bike.
Mhm.
She was going way too hard too consistently and then not focusing on the stuff that I needed her to focus on to get her to where she wanted to be.
Okay.
Well, what is it, 3 months now, 4 months
Yeah.
now?
Since February,
She
about end of February,
Yeah,
was your
she
first guy's
moves.
training.
Yeah, she moves like a completely different person.
Yeah. She's
Like
like
if
down on
I
the ground now. Well, like, watch this, Ryan. I can do chest to
Yeah,
ground burpees.
yeah,
You're like
she
squatting
like
down. Like it used to be like, okay, mom, you're gonna squat down, and now your knees are hurting for the next 2 weeks.
no, she's doing dumbbell rack lunges. She's doing deadlifts with the barbell. She's doing alternating reverse lunges. I mean, her knees and her leg strength and her core has changed in an extraordinary amount. But she's also very disciplined and she wants to meet those goals. So she does everything that she's supposed to on the days that we're not together. And you can see with that consistency and that discipline that it always pans out for those people. I think a lot of people just underestimate being consistent. Doesn't mean
Mhm.
you have to go crazy hard every day. You just need to be consistent.
Did you say
She's
underestimate?
No, underestimate. Did I
Oh,
say
okay.
under? What did I say?
No, I thought you were like combining the words, like resting and estimate.
Oh, I don't
Estimate.
know. Maybe okay. Throw it in there. Webster, we got a word for you.
That's very
And
cool.
then
Yeah,
uh
she
and
loves
then like
working with you.
Matt and oh dude, she's hilarious. Like she and not to get too personal, but she has this fantastic laugh where she's excited to try something, but she's also a little scared. And I always know because it's always the exact same laugh. And I'm like, "You got this." She's like, "Oh, oh," and she kind of reminds me of Mickey Mouse sometimes because she goes, "Oh boy."
She'll like that. She just texted me. I was looking down. She's like, "Is there a place where I can go in and look at it?" I'd give her the link to tap in. Maybe we'll do that the next time. But I think
Oh,
she's
that'd be
just
awesome.
watching right now to tap in. But what about like, okay, so now we have somebody that had some mobility issues and some really hard knees going on to where she couldn't squat at all, and you've worked them. So now let's go into kind of the training idea of working with let's say a 20 plus 25-year-old, trying to work on their half marathon speed. Like
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on how to get him up to speed, like Matt or
Uh,
AJ?
yeah. Okay. So one of the things I've coached quite a few 20-year-olds in my day,
Hmm.
and trying to get them to learn to not overtrain is the biggest issue.
Hmm.
Because I remember when I was, in my early 20s and everything else, and it just could go and go and go and recover somehow. And I put myself into a situation multiple times where I'd end up getting myself injured
Hmm.
because I wasn't allowing my body to recover properly or get sick because of that, because I could just push and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm still nailing my sessions. It's all good.
Yeah.
So now that I have all that knowledge from, unfortunately, experience,
Hmm.
but that experience has helped me as a coach, and then just seeing the difference in from that, and then the science behind it, and getting them to, hey, on these days we go hard, on this day we're not going to go hard. Just follow the programming.
Hmm.
Now, if I say, hey, today's supposed to be an RPE, roughly around a 6 or a 7 or a 7 or an 8, and you're like, it felt like a 5,
Mm.
then just communicate that with me. So for those guys, and just like everybody, we do testing.
Hmm.
Anytime I get a new client and a new athlete, week one is all testing. And that way I have a baseline. So I
Hmm.
know where they're at. We do a PAR-Q. Hey, do you have any injuries? Are you on any meds? Are you cleared? Any mobility issues, anything that's in pain. And a lot of people sometimes are like, oh, I'm okay. And I'm like, well, I need to know these things,
Yeah.
because if you've had previous issues with something that always gets aggravated once you start doing something, then that means that we need to address it and assess it and build slowly. That way we can try to avoid that. If I don't know that information and I think you're good to go, you don't have any issues, and then 4 weeks later you're like, man, dude, this back issue or this hip issue's flaring up again. I'm like, what hip issue from the past are you talking about?
You checked no to previous injuries.
Yeah, and it always reminds me of the movie The Wedding Singer, where he's like, information that could have been useful yesterday. And I'm like, oh, and I feel bad because I'm like, oh man, because I get so involved and I get so excited for my athletes or my
Mhm.
clients when they're crushing and they're doing PRs. I get just as excited.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people that are like, dude, I feel like you're almost as excited as I am. I'm like, I am. I
It's
live
because I
for
am,
this. Like,
bro.
one of the reasons I love being a coach is because I cannot live without fitness.
Hmm.
It is my ADHD medication.
Yeah.
Like, so when other people are doing well, I love it. I'm like, yeah, like, and some people may not say, hey, don't curse with your clients or whatever, but I'm like, hey, when I'm excited, I will text the F bomb. I will straight up be like, yo, fuck yeah, dude, amazing, way to crush it. I'm so fucking stoked. And
And thank you,
exclamation points,
Apple.
emojis.
Yeah, they're coming out. I just saw somebody. Well, one of my Facebook friends said new Apple
Yeah,
iOS release. They're changing
yeah,
the ducking to what we really mean.
yeah. It's about ducking time.
It's about ducking time. All right.
But yeah,
I
just
do.
getting a good assessment on everybody to find their baseline, and that way we can build them up. And some people, when I give them a test week, they're like, "Oh man, I'm not gonna run as fast as I think I could." I'm like, I don't care. I'm not judging you.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just wherever you are today, this week. So don't
Mhm.
beat yourself up about it. Like, just own where you're at, and then if you don't like that, remember that in a week, in a month, in 6 months, in 8 months, a year. Just remember that feeling that you're doing right now so you don't fall off again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always on those days where you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, or it's at night, and you're like, should I really do that? Or I'm kind of like, I want to
Yeah.
eat my dinner and watch TV. And it's at that point you're like, well, you could not do anything, but just remember where you were a year ago at this time, or even 6 months ago or 3 months ago. And you're like,
Yeah.
look at how much, even though you don't want to do it, and maybe you don't do it for the night, but just you remember you get back on that horse tomorrow and you do that workout because of
Yeah.
you remember where you started and how
Yeah.
much you have grown because of it.
And I'll say this. One of the things that I try to tell people all the time, they're like, oh man, well, that workout wasn't that hard. Or man, I just, oh man, I can't make it today. I'm sorry, coach. Like, I'm like, hey, don't beat yourself up about it. They're like, I'll make up that workout tomorrow. I'm like,
Mm.
no, that wasn't a crazy important workout. Stick with the schedule.
Yeah.
Or if it is a very important workout, I will move it and then move things around, because there are certain workouts where I would rather you do this workout versus this one.
Mm.
But instead of beating yourself up over one day
Yeah.
that you missed, think about, instead of each day, think about weekly
Mm.
and monthly. How consistent were you over the month, not the day?
Okay. Yeah.
Because those days add up. If just shit just doesn't work out and you're like, dude, I'm too tired. Like, I've been going all day. I'm tired mentally, physically, emotionally. I don't need you working out at 12 midnight to get 4 hours of sleep and then ruin the next 3 days of sessions.
Yeah.
See clean, get some sleep, wake up, and then crush it the next day. Think about the weekly and the monthly consistency versus just destroying yourself because you missed that one day.
Think about the macro, not the micro,
Bam.
as our friend Gary Vee. All right. We
Oh,
have
I
we're
don't have my
about 30
beanie on.
minutes, but we don't want to make this too long for you. We'll go into our final piece right here. We're just going to do like a mini calculation for the first couple pages of the carb cut. So let's present this and
I'm
share
gonna bust out my
your
calculator.
screen here. Yes, need that calculadora. All right, share it. Boom. Carb cut challenge. How does it work? So this is the
Yeah.
example of a 200-pound person, right? With 20% body fat.
Yeah.
Let's go through. So here's kind of the concept, and then we'll go through a real life scenario with myself, right? So if you weigh 200 pounds and you have 20% body fat, you have 160 lean body mass. Okay, how does that calculation work? Because if I'm seeing 200 pounds and 20%, how do I get to 160? Am I multiplying 200 by 20%? Am I dividing? Like, I'm a person where it's like, okay, cool. You showed me the answer. What is the math to get
So you're
200
gonna
to
do
160?
200
Okay.
times 0.20, because that's
Okay.
20%, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get 40.
Okay.
Then that's the body fat. So now you're going to subtract that from 200, and that's where the 160 comes from.
So I take 200 pounds times 20%, but you got to do the decimal. So 0.20. You get that number. Then you take that back to the original, your poundage of how much you weigh.
Yep.
Do the minus subtraction button, and then that's where we come up with 160. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because if you're doing 200 times 20%, we're calculating for how much weight is body fat. So now we need to subtract that body fat from the total weight to get our muscle mass index.
Okay. So then all of this carb is based upon, or how much carbs you should and should not eat, high carb days,
your
low carb days,
protein,
is
everything
all
else.
based upon your body minus
mass.
the fat. So it's just calculating what the body mass is, and that's how you're deciding how much carbs you should eat with that.
Your lean body mass, your muscle mass.
Okay. Should we go down to step 2?
Yeah, go to 2.
All right, step 2. Let's hide this guy. All right, high carb days. So now we're at 160 pounds. This is our lean body mass. And how do we calculate our high carb day? And where do we get this 2.5? Is this just a number that we grab out of a hat? Is every person different with this 2.5 gram, or every person is using this 2.5 gram time there? Well, hang on. I know I'm jumping all around. How do we know what body fat percentage? Because I know there's some people who are like, well, how do I know if I'm 20%? How do I know if I'm 30%? And if you don't have a bod pod, or if you don't have a DEXA scan, what would be another, and you don't have like
a lot of gyms will have somebody in the gym that knows how to do a caliper.
Okay.
And sometimes they don't charge for it. Maybe it's $20. A DEXA scan, not cheap, but top tier.
But let's say I just want, I got this today and I want to calculate it. What I would say is I think a good estimation
for your goal body weight
would be you're just looking online and you look up men's or women's body fat percentage, and you look at the picture and you're like, I kind of look like that in the mirror. And then if you have no other option available to you and you are in the middle of the cornfield because chances are in Indiana, that's probably where you are. And you don't have this availability to you of having a body caliper. If you can do a vision check, so it's like, all right, yeah, I kind of look like that body type, and so you can kind of plug in your numbers with that.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah. I
see.
mean, just you have the internet at your disposal.
Yeah.
Look up. I mean, you can put in female 5'5", 25% body fat,
Mm-hmm.
and just find somebody that looks similar to your build, and then guesstimate off of that and be like, okay, well, I'm close to that.
Yeah.
And just guesstimate and then do the calculations. It may not be nearly as accurate, but the
Yeah.
big thing that you need to focus on is the fact that, okay, we have now set a goal. We have given ourselves numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
without those numbers, we can't, set a path. Where's he at?
I think we have a special guest appearance.
Yeah, that's the mini coach. Um he's
That's you.
all right, buddy. That's Levi. Um, so and what happens is a lot of people they don't focus on that, so they just like, okay, whatever, I'll just eat anything. But even if it's not 100% accurate and it's just close and it's roundabout,
Yeah.
you're giving yourself a goal set for those macros for your Monday and Friday high days,
Mm-hmm.
and for your other days in between on the low carb days. And just setting that pathway is one of the biggest things that people fail to do is
Okay.
goal setting. We did a podcast one time about goal setting, and this is a goal set. So just getting that on paper and following it to a T makes a huge difference, because that can help breed consistency.
Now, is this going off of, I want to be 160 pounds? And so you're going off of, hey, I want to be at this body mass percentage, so I'm using these high carb days calculation off of that, or I'm going off of, this is my current body type?
That's your current body type. So if you are, so we want to lean out, right? So we
Yeah.
want to try to get rid of excess body fat.
Yes.
So we're attacking the body where it currently is with the lean muscle mass to strip fat off.
All right.
So that's where these numbers are calculated, because
now
we want to still
we're at,
have performance, but we
Mhm.
also, what a lot of people don't understand is when I say, well, you being extremely overweight, like
Mhm.
the excess body fat, that is a side effect to something. And they're like, a side effect? I don't have any. And I'm like, okay, let's learn what side effect means. That means
Yeah.
that you're eating or doing or not doing something, and the cause is excess body fat.
Okay.
So what can we do to have a different reaction?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not necessarily, your body is a pretty amazing thing. It's like, okay, well, maybe we've been adding body fat to protect ourselves. Maybe it's just because we don't know how to process all the stuff that we're eating, and then also not physically doing to get rid of it. So it is causing excess body fat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's change that and let's do something to get rid of that excess body fat. And that's what that is.
Very good. So now we're at so we've calculated the step one, the 20%. We have the 160, and now we're at the step two. Is everyone using this 2.5 grams of carbs? Is that a number that changes per person? I know the number up top changes, but are these solid numbers that we can plug and play for calculating the second part?
Yeah, when I am in a big buildup for a triathlon race and I have big sessions, that day are the
Mhm.
days that I go high carb, and I use the same formula.
Okay.
If I know I'm
So
putting in like those big efforts, and those are the days where I need a carb load to, have glycogen stores and everything else for the following day, and also push through those sessions on that day, usually 2.5 for me as well.
So this high carb day, this would mean on a heavy volume day, meaning that you're pushing your body hard. You have an AM session and you possibly have a PM session, or if you have one session, your RPE, or rate of perceived effort, is at an 8 or a 9. Like, you're almost maxing out your effort for the day on that training session, right? That would mean following high carb day.
Yeah, and carb flow. You'll see a lot of bodybuilders do that as well. They'll carb up, and then they'll cut those carbs, and it constantly keeps the body not only flexible in its ability to not be insulin resistant, but to burn fat. So it works for a multitude of reasons. And one of them is being able to push those workouts and fill up with carbs and then drop those low carbs. And then your body has to go into stores on those days in between. And then we refill and then we drive. It's kind of like driving a car. You fill up on Monday and then
you
fill up on Monday, you drive your car, and then the tank goes down, and then you refill.
So
not the best analogy, but close.
I get you. So on step one, we figured out, okay, how am I getting from 200 down to 160 and that math calculation? On step 2, 2.5 grams per pound. What am I multiplying or timesing? 2.5 times 160. What's the math here?
Yeah. So you'll do 160 times 2.5.
Okay. Seems easy enough. Write that down, kids. And then that's how we get the 400 grams. And then 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. I'm taking 1G times, if you're 160, that would make sense. 1 times anything is
it makes it very easy. So the 1 gram so if you're 120 pounds lean muscle mass, 120 grams protein a day. If you're 225 pounds of lean muscle mass, 225 grams of protein a day. Super easy.
There we go. Easy math. All right, 0.3 of fat per pound of lean body mass. So these are your fats.
160 times 0.3.
Fats. 0.3 times 160 gives us the 48. 0.3 if you had if you were a 180 pound athlete, you take 0.3 times 180, and that would be your fat per pound.
Yeah. So if you do 160 times 0.3, boom, 48.
49 or 48. All right. So total calories are to get this 2672. Are we adding 400 grams plus 160 grams to 48 grams equals our 2,672?
Yeah. So carbs and protein are 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9 calories per gram.
See, that confuses me. If I have these numbers here and that's how we're doing, and Cooper, we'll get into your question right after this. But for a baseline, we can get into this, and if you want to email or DM Parker, he can go through individual. But baseline, these are how you're getting from the left side to the right side and come up with these numbers. Yeah. So let's go, Cooper. Just joined. Are we adjusting those macros based on calorie burn? So on the higher calorie burn days, obviously you're burning more calories. So I think he's asking, are you upping these numbers? Or I think just for starting out,
no, for this
even on
program,
a high calorie burn, stick with these.
For this program, stick with this. That's why on that Monday and Friday, we have these high carb days. And then on the days in between, by Wednesday, Thursday, you might start feeling a little bit low, depleted, but that's how we get that body to tap in to those other stores. This is how we become very, oh man, what's the word or the phrase that I'm looking for? People that just overeat carbohydrates and sugar, they become insulin resistant, right? So we want to become very flexible in our ability to process the different types of foods. So we don't want to become so overcarbed on a daily basis with no workouts. And then that's usually what leads to diabetes, because you just become insulin resistant because your body's like, dude, chill, calm down.
No more carbs.
And then it starts to store. So when we do this, it allows you to build up. You should still feel some of that carb load the following day. And then as you train, you'll be like, okay, all right, I'm starting to feel it. And then right when you feel by Thursday night, you're like, oh man, okay, I'm starting to feel, boom, Friday comes and you're like, oh God, these carbs are so delicious.
All right. We've done step 1, calculated your math for you. We've done step 2. Now, a low carb day. So high carb day, you got your AM session, your PM session. You're maxing out your effort level at an 8 or 9. What would it mean? What type of training session would you be doing to qualify or equal doing what's called a low carb day? And then now I'll scroll down we can figure out this math, but let's give an example of what would it mean that you're doing a low carb day, either a rest and recovery type of day, you're doing no workouts at all. Let's say my
And
body
it could
is
be
so
any
sore, I'm laying on the couch. Is
yeah,
this
no,
be considered a low carb
sometimes
day?
sometimes you go through a workout and you just use your stored glycogen and you just have low carbs and your body will find the fuel source needed. It will start to pull from the body where it can. So I would, on your low carb days, get those carbohydrates in around your workout protocol. That's where you're going to want those carbohydrates a little bit pre
Okay.
and the majority post. Take
Yeah,
in
because you're
like,
supposed to stack those, right? Not carb. You're not supposed to pound carbs and eat carbs like within your workout. You're supposed to stack up, like bookend them, right? On the
yeah,
before, on the button, after.
yeah. So we'll go an easy number. If you have, say, your low carb day is 50,
Mm-hmm.
take in 20 before your workout, 30 post.
There we go.
Or if you do it fasted in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
smash those carbs right after your workout and
Okay.
just load up.
So on this low carb day, let's go through like the math that we did on the other one. So we're still using that starting 160 pound. We did that. We got that number from the first step one. So on this low carb day, figuring that out, we're taking 0.2 times the 160 gives us this range. So if you do 0.2 times 160, we're at the 32. If you do 0.3 times 160, we're at that 48. Is that how we're getting that number?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, same thing, same math.
And then I think it's just about the same gram of protein. Although, how are we the math, how is this working? Because on the first one, we're getting 1 gram. On step 2, we did 1 gram times 160, we're getting 160. How are we getting 1 gram per pound of lean mass, and now we're getting 200?
Uh-oh, we found a typo. We didn't proofread well enough. Shit. So sometimes on low carb days, well, you can, if you want to, you can bump it up to 1.2. That's roughly about 1.2 grams of protein per lean body mass. So that's probably like 190 something. 160 times 1.2 is 192. So it's roughly that 1.2 to 1.3 range.
There are no mistakes. It's just happy little accidents. So on this one,
Exactly.
what we're trying to say here is what's hiding in the peripherals is you're supposed to stack up a little bit more protein, right?
Yeah,
On
you
low
can
carb
on your
days,
low carb days, you can
supposed
add
to
a
higher the
little bit.
protein. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 1
And your
gram.
body loves protein. People don't give it enough credit. Like it is essential.
And then 1 gram of fat per pound of lean body mass. 1 times 160 is 160.
Yeah.
There we go. So let's unpresent that. Remove. All right. Do we have any other questions? We've gone through what your definition of workout definitions are. Superset. Immediately after, you got the barbell bench press or dumbbells. You drop in the weights, drop them bad boys on the floor, and immediately have them lighter weights for your lat raises.
I had a few
20
questions from
Oh yeah,
Instagram.
let's go through the questions
And
because
they're
we posed
mainly
the
for Hunter. I guess they didn't realize he wasn't going to be on the show today. So somebody
answers.
just says, "What?" And I'm like, "All right, what? What's up?"
What did
One, how to improve sled push times.
Mm.
Do sleds.
Do sleds, or I think a lot of people,
Just
they say, okay, I don't have a sled. What do I do in lieu of that? I think people sleep on Zercher. You want to
oh
describe what the
yeah.
Zercher lunges are, and then how to get your arms used to that. I use foam pads on that, but if you want to explain kind of
Smart.
what a Zercher lunge is,
Yeah,
and
you're
these are
you're gonna
like
hold a
comparable.
barbell right here. People will do Zercher squats. You'll hold a barbell, hold it up. Ryan Smart using that pad, and just do your walking lunges. Big crazy house. And then another thing that you could do is if you have a hack squat machine,
Mm.
if you have one of those, or just squat.
You mean like Smith press, or I've seen one of them to where it's like foam pads on your shoulders. You flip the label or flip the lever, and then you can squat with the foam pads on your shoulders, right? That could be it. Okay.
Yeah, front squats. And then another thing you can do is isometrical. Grab a big, heavy resistant band, anchor it in, and then just wrap it around your waist.
Okay.
Or hold it here, and literally just lean forward and then walk out. Hold it, and then slowly walk back in.
Okay.
Because you'll get the concentric and eccentric motion on the way out and then on the way back in. And then we'll just walk out and then hold and move nice and slow. And if you want to hold kettlebells while you're doing that, you can. If you have a sled, work with different weight and different speeds. So one of the things that I like to do is, depending on the day, you can, so say you're racing the pro, or we'll just take an easy number. Let's just say that the weight that you need to drive is 300 pounds. Okay. One day, move it to 250 or 225 and move that shit as fast as you can. Push it all the way down, rest 30 seconds or 60 seconds if you really want to move it fast. Take longer breaks to move faster. Drive it back as fast as you can. Do those repetitions, and you can do the same with the sled pull. Go lighter and go fast as shit. Other days, overload. Maybe you're doing 10% more. So maybe you're doing 310, maybe you're doing 320, 325. And move it slow and just dig deep and get that big neuromuscular recruitment for it's like a heavy strength training day, and move it 5 meters. Wait, move it 5 meters again, and work like that. Then there's some other days where just push the actual weight and then just get used to pushing the actual weight. But just like in all weight training, depending on the type of reps, if you're doing plyometrics, if you're doing speed, strength, endurance, anything, work that weight on the sled and you'll see a huge improvement.
And I think it's also good to mention, like, it's going to be very hard to simulate or replicate the exact carpet on the exact day. Even if you did have the exact carpet, I've also heard some people describe that if you do the sled at Hyrox in the morning versus in the evening, depending on division or age group or whatever you're going in, it's going to be different. So even if you could find the exact carpet type, depending on if you're hitting it in the morning or in the evening, it could be a difference of how you do it. So it's not necessarily, okay, I have to get the simulation of the carpet, but I think it's the perceived effort. And that's what we had Tom on the podcast. And he goes, I don't necessarily do the exact weight, but I put myself through what my body is going to feel like on race day. So whatever movement that may be, he may be doing, he's going to simulate it in the fact of push his body as hard as what he would be feeling on race day. And I think
that's why simulations are so important when you are prepping for a Hyrox. And this is also why I like to do the overload. Because let's just say you get there and the weight feels light, but the carpet is like, holy shit, dude, this is like glue. Well, your body's used to now pushing a lot more resistance from your overload days, and you'll make adjustments for the race course. Because if you're experiencing that same type of turf or the carpet, so is the next person. So just pace yourself, know when to push it, learn that resistance. You're like, oh man, okay, this is heavy, and that's where those overload days go to. I know I can only push it 3 meters. I got to stand up. Boom, back into it.
Now you got the 3 meters stand up. How your body feels based upon what perceived effort and how it's feeling on that day.
Yeah, all right, what's the next question? Some people try to stick to times, and I'm like, learn what you're feeling, because that is, at the end of the day, before computers and watches and all this crazy stuff, people only went on perceived effort.
All right, what's the next question?
Do you love to win or hate to lose? And that's for Hunter, and I'm gonna say he both. For that dude, he hates to lose, and God does he love to win. But who
Yeah.
doesn't love to win? But it hurts more to lose.
I think for me, like it hurts more to lose, and so
Oh yeah.
I hate to lose. Like
Oh yeah.
even if it's like a for little amount of money, like $1, I don't want to lose.
You're
I
like,
don't
damn
want to
it.
lose everything. I'm like everything I can to win that, or to keep it, to hold on to that
Oh
money.
yeah, 100%.
All right, what's the next question?
How can you get Strength X2 in the US?
Mm. Grease the right palms. No.
Ryan's
It
Venmo
is.
is.
It is coming, and I don't even have access. I have access to it because I flew literally over to the UK,
Yeah.
and I have literally 2 tubs myself. Just
Ooh.
pulling the curtain up, I have 2 tubs, and that's all I have, even for myself. We're talking with the supplement order people, and it's just so you know, it's like a 12-week turnaround time. So we put in the
Yeah.
order, and it takes 12 weeks, and so we're about 4 or 5 weeks in. So it's at that point to where it's
Yeah, I'm
still
excited
being
for it.
manufactured.
I'm really
Um,
excited for it. All right, let me see. What's the next question here? Ooh, we'll have to save this for Hunter. In your entire career, what race was your favorite and why?
mm,
Hunter,
okay.
when you get back, you got to
We'll,
answer that. It's a good
we'll
question.
put that. We'll what's that called? We're gonna table that discussion. Table that question.
At the round table. I like it.
Any?
Anybody else got any more questions or anything?
I think we're good. This is good.
Yeah, word.
We're at right about that hour time limit, hour timeline. I think we did good. We answered
And
your
here we were
question.
like, we'll just make it quick, just 20,
Yeah.
30 minutes. And
Just so you know, guys, we had like a fifth, like we were doing like Eric Andre show style length of show. And I was like, well, if we do 12 minutes and we have 12 minutes of content, I think that'll be good. We just need a placeholder. Like, you know, these people are relying on us Monday mornings.
oh yeah.
And here we do an hour show. So this is what we're going to do on Mondays as the little mini series in between times of Hunter coming back. I think it is good to be here on Mondays for you all. So we'll have questions like this that will go up. We can even post them on Hunter's Instagram if that's where you follow him a little bit more. And we'll put our pretty little faces on there that says these guys are going to be on the show, and ask your questions that would regard the knowledge and wealth of information that these guys would have. Monday mornings, 7:30 a.m. So with this being said, this is your mini series, Parker and Ryan, Monday mornings. I think for the next like 3 or 4 weeks through July 4th, I think he's going to be hiking the Appalachian Trail. So well wishes to our friend and buddy Hunter McIntyre. Thank you. You all are beautiful for being here. We'll see you soon.
Just shoot me an email if you have any questions about the challenge. Parker Gregory at housetraining.com. Let me
yes,
know.
I will be answering if you have signed up and have not received it
and hit
yet.
the Facebook group.
This is my working for what I will be doing today. So let's jam out before I get into it. All right, we'll see y'all.